What's up guys, Carter here from Part-Time Overland, and today I'm going to be showing you how we can take a hood that looks like this and turn it into something that looks a little bit like this. Only using rattle cans and DIY methods. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is the project 4Runner that I've been working on for the last couple months at this point. I've done a bunch of mechanical work to it, and thankfully that's all done because that was the hard part. Today we just get to do something fun, which is paint this hood. As you can see, I was actually able to find a hood in the same color. Originally this had some front end damage from a deer, so the original hood was damaged, but I got this hood which was in the exact same color, which is a really good thing, which means it's gonna basically we're gonna have to do a little bit less work, a little less coats on the color coat and all that stuff. Overall, it's actually in really good condition. There's still a good bit of the color coat left on from the original paint job, but obviously there's quite a bit of fading. Up here, of course, you can see where the original clear coat is still on, and that looks great. That matches with the original kind of color. And then of course up here it's all faded, so that's what we're fixing today. Now the process is really simple, and like I said, it's even more simple because we already have the existing color and there's still a good bit of color actually on here. This is the main product we're going to be using today. This is actually paint I picked up from Napa. They're able to look up paint codes and just make paint right there, or they can do custom paint colors, all that stuff. So super cool. The guy said I should probably be able to do the entire hood with just this, so hopefully that's true. Otherwise we're going to be a bit in a pickle. And then this actually is our clear coat. This is from Eastwood. I've seen this all over. It's a 2K clear coat, so it actually has a little, you push this in and it activates, so it gets like a really nice shiny and durable finish. So other than that, we have a couple things. I just have some gloves over here. I have some towels that we're going to use to just clean things up. I have some sandpaper. We're not actually going to do a ton of sanding because this hood is in such good condition, and as I say, existing base coat is the best primer for new paint. I have some glass cleaners just to clean stuff up with those rags, and as well as I have some masking stuff in the car so we don't obviously paint the windshield and the rest of the car. Speaking of which, let's get this thing masked up and we'll start getting to work. And just a couple minutes later, here is our setup. And you can see it's really actually quite easy to isolate a hood because you can just tuck all the paper or plastic or whatever you're using under it. You just got to be careful when you're painting that, you know, this doesn't come over, because obviously you want to get the whole surface. But this is all prepped. I'm also going to take out these guys, the little nozzles, because we don't want to paint those. But other than that, we can start doing a little bit of sand work and then go ahead and lay down the base coat or the color coat. So I'm going to first start out with this little kind of pad. The really nice thing about this is because we have these little grooves in the hood, for instance. This is really nice to kind of contour around that. If you just have a perfectly flat hood, then sandpaper is good as well. I also do have sandpaper, but we're going to try this out first. So as you can see, I've actually switched over to sandpaper, and one of the most important things I'm focusing on is this transition period between the base coat, the color coat, and where the rest of the clear coat is remaining. Now, if I were spending a little bit more time on this hood, I would just go ahead and sand down this whole area, sand in all the clear coat, so we could do a brand new clear coat. But because this is a bit of a kind of down and dirty job, if you will, instead of taking off this whole piece of clear coat, I'm actually just going to sand it down. And the really important part is to focus on making sure you have a really nice smooth transition. If I rub my hand over here, I can feel it goes from this kind of rough surface, and then there's a bump right where the clear coat sits. It, you know, visibly bumps up. You can see it, and you can also feel it too. So what we want to focus on is sanding down this edge, not too much, but just enough so that when we run our hand over it, it's a really, really smooth transition, and you can't actually feel it. Okay, well, our sanding stage is done. As you can see, I've scuffed up this entire thing. I'm mostly just focused on this front area. By the way, I forgot to mention earlier, I don't actually know what grit I'm using, but it's probably something like 220. That should be fine. If you want to go back and maybe use like a 400 or something, you could, but again, we're going to be laying the base coat on top of this, and the base coat it's fine if it's a little bit rough, because once the clear coat goes on, that's the part that's really smooth and makes it look really shiny. So this is looking great. You can also just rub your hand along, and if there's any rough spots, you can just kind of go like this, and there might be like a little rough spot there. Just give it a light sand. Okay, that's smooth. So that's a good way of doing it. Now I'm gonna get some glass cleaner, just spray this whole thing down, get all the dust off, and then that's pretty much ready to paint. And you can see as we're doing this just how much paint dust there actually is. So what I'm gonna do now is, well, this side's a little dirty, so let me get a fresh one. I use a fresh towel now, just do one more clean up. And you can see on the second one, we're getting a lot less of that dust. And I'm gonna call that good. All right, so we're getting ready to spray. And as I'm doing this, I want you to notice a couple things. First is I have gloves on. This is totally optional, but I like to keep my hands clean. If you're gonna do gloves though, one of the very important things is, see what I'm doing with my finger here and pulling this all the way back. What can happen sometimes is as you're spraying, if the glove is dangling out, it goes and kind of gets in the way, and some of the spray actually hits your glove and bounces off, so you get an uneven spray. So really important, if you're going to use gloves, make sure that your glove is very tight. And also, of course, when you're spraying, don't spray like this, right? Just keep your finger very far back there. So that's thing number one. Thing number two is, you can see I have a nice, I'm going to call it gas mask, but painter's mask here. I don't know how toxic this is, but usually spray paint's not very good for you, so better to use a mask. Number three is, since we are outside, obviously the best scenario would be able to paint inside if you have some sort of booth or something, but we're totally outside. We're in the mountains, so there's pollen flying around. So just make sure to inspect your painting area before you go ahead and spray it. If there's any dust, debris, whatever, you want to get that off before you do the spray. We actually got really lucky today, and it's staying pretty calm. And the other thing to note, by the way, if you're outside, is temperature and sun. Again, we got super lucky today because the sun is actually covered by some clouds. So the temperature is sitting right in the 50s, which is absolutely perfect. You don't want it too cold. You want it fairly warm, so your paint goes on well and sprays well. But you also don't want it too hot. If it's too hot, and especially the sun is shining and the metal's heating up, you spray it and the paint dries instantly. It's not as good. You want the paint to harden a little bit slower for the best results, how it kind of cures and everything. So I couldn't ask for better conditions today. So I think that's about it. You can also see I have a ladder, so I can get up and kind of spray above, get up to some hard to reach areas if I need to. But other than that, we're gonna shake this can for a few minutes and then get to spraying. Gonna do a little quick spray test on here. Woo! That looks awesome. Spray pattern's coming out super nice. Color looks great, and no weird things in the spray pattern. So I'm actually gonna focus on the front of the hood first, kind of this transition period that we focused on with the sanding. And the reason I'm gonna do that is because we've sanded this area down, I actually want to get a bit thicker coat kind of right in this band and let it dry. And that way, if we see that you can actually kind of detect a transition area, then we can kind of build up that layer, let it dry a bit, and then give it a quick sand so that it really smooths out that transition area anymore. So, mask is going up, and wish me luck. So I'm just doing a little bit at a time. Already, I'm super impressed. Like I said, this spray pattern is working great. It's going on super even, and the color looks great as well. So with that said, I'm just gonna keep working my way up, mostly focusing on the areas that really need paint the most. I'm not exactly sure how much paint I'll have in this can to get this hood done, but I wanna be a bit frugal, err on the side of using less than more, so I don't run out halfway through. Now, I'll also just mention this in case it's unclear. When I'm spraying, especially for this first coat, I'm staying probably maybe 8 to 10 inches away, and I'm doing pretty light coats. Especially for the first coat, you want to kind of dust it on. Once we get to the second coat and allowing, if we have enough paint, then we can go on a bit thicker. But yeah, it's better to err on the side of doing a little more dusty rather than going super crazy and getting it super wet, because it's not great to have a run. You can fix runs, but it's better to just dust it on. Also, every once in a while, I'm gonna check my nozzle. This nozzle's still doing great. So yeah, just give it a little wipe. You can also turn the can upside down and give it a little squirt if you want, but I'm just gonna wipe it off and let's keep going. So we've just completed our first coat, and honestly, I'm so stoked with how this is turning out. The color's looking really good. The spray pattern is awesome. The wind is holding up. But yeah, I'm super stoked with how it's turning out. The only thing I don't know at this time is there's still a good bit of paint in this can, but I think we're probably only gonna get one more full coat out of this, to be completely honest. Especially with a hood that's vertical, you wanna be really careful because these spray cans like to be used as upright as possible. So if you start going like this, obviously the tendency is if you're painting something like this, you want to go like that, but you need to keep it pretty upright. So I probably won't be able to use this entire can just because of that. Once it starts getting down pretty low, then you start getting some weird kind of spritzing and stuff, and I don't want to ruin the hood right at the end when I run out of paint and don't have anything to touch it up with. But it's looking really good. I'm just taking a look at this transitional kind of area that we were working with before. You can see a tiny bit. If I were doing like super crazy detail, I might come in here and try to work with that. But just based off of the fact that we only have this one can for our color coat, I'm just gonna focus a little more time and try to get some more spray coverage here. And I think we're gonna call it good. So yeah, that's the plan. We're gonna do a second coat. This is actually almost dry within just a few minutes. Like I said, this temperature is absolutely perfect. So just gonna wait maybe another minute and then we'll get back and start doing our second coat. Okay, well, once you reach that point and you can start hearing the marble inside, it's probably a pretty good time to stop. Starting to get into the territory of getting a few spritzes. They've been ones that I've been able to cover up. I've just kind of dabbed them with my finger very gently and then done some light dusting coats over them. But at this point, other than going completely vertical, it's just not worth risking it to have any weird sprays. So I'm gonna call this good. We've gotten full coverage. If I did have another one of these, I would do a little bit more coats, but this is the only one we got, so we're gonna work with that. Now, normally when you're doing a paint job like this, you would typically let this first coat dry a little bit more, although to be honest, this is drying really fast, which is great. Like I said, it's the perfect temperature. Clouds are starting to break apart, so the sun's coming out a little bit more. But because we are outside and the sun's starting to come out and I don't know if the wind's gonna pick up, whatnot, I'm actually just gonna go ahead and do this as quickly as I can. So here is our clear coat. This is the 2K. We're gonna shake it up a little bit, maybe for a minute or so. Get it a little bit warmed up. And then we have this fancy thing up top. This actually goes in the bottom right here, sits on there. And I think I should be able to do it with my hand. We're gonna go like this, hit it pretty hard, and it actually punctures a little kind of tube inside and releases the kind of two-part mixer that basically like hardens it up, sort of like epoxy. So 3, 2, 1. We got it, and looks like there's some epoxy leaking at the bottom. So I guess we got that as we needed to. Again, I'm gonna do a little spray test down here. Woo, and that stuff is coming out real strong. I actually like this style of nozzle a bit better because you can get more of your finger on there and your fingers don't get quite as tired. So I think this has a really nice strong spray pattern. Let's mask up and get to work. All right, so there we go. Again, first coat, we're keeping it a lot more gentle, just a very kind of light dusting coat. You're gonna notice it doesn't look super shiny already. That's okay. As we keep adding on more coats, it's gonna look shinier and shinier. And once I let this dry and move to the second coat, and we can start going on a little bit heavier. This can is quite hefty, so I think it has a bit more than our color coat did. So I can go a little heavier on the second coat. So now that the second coat is on, it's starting to look a whole lot better. You can really start to see that shine come through. I was able to do much heavier coats this time. We are starting to run into a bit of a couple breezes here. There's a couple bugs that have decided to land on here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this just sit and dry as much as it can, give it a good bit of time to dry. And I'm gonna try to pick some of those bugs off, give it one final coat, and then we'll call it good. Well, it's looking like that paint can is about pretty much done with giving us any paint, which is probably a good thing because maybe you can see it's starting to get a little windy. So I'm scared that some of this plastic is gonna fly into the hood. So I'm actually gonna lift the hood up just a little bit, take some of this plastic out. The sun is gonna be here and let this cure. I'm gonna let it sit for about a day or so. It's already looking really good. I'll give you a little quick tour here, but we're gonna come back tomorrow and give it just a little quick buff to get out some of that orange peel. And then I think we should be in really great shape. If not, I do actually have a second can of clear coat, so we could come back and touch up a few spots, but I think for a quick little fix, getting this looking just a little bit better, this is already pretty darn good. Here's a little bit better of a comparison. Obviously you can kind of see how that's a little bit shinier down here. You can see the blotchiness in the clear coat, but let's check out how well this matches. That's a pretty darn good match. Once we shine that out tomorrow, yeah, that's gonna be looking real sweet. Even from a distance already, it looks pretty darn good. All right, y'all, well, this is what it looks like a day later. It's got some dirt on it now, but it's looking really good. The sun is out, it is fully dried. I can just kind of rub my hand over it. Obviously there's still the dirt, but I can feel kind of a little orange peel. It's honestly, I'm pretty impressed for not being buffed right now, how smooth it is. But the next step is to basically come in here, gonna give it a quick wash down. I'm gonna give it probably a once over with some wet sanding on like either 2,000 or 3,000 grit. And then I'll come in here and polish it with like little buffing wheel on my sander, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm super stoked. Let's give it a little polish and see what kind of results we can get. So now comes the fun part. As you can see, I have sanded down this entire surface, as you'll notice from the very kind of faded look it has. And that's totally normal, don't be worried. That's just because, like I said, we've sanded it down. It is fine sandpaper, 2,000 grit. You could even work your way up to 3,000. But what we're gonna be doing now is I have this ultra cut compound. You can get a bunch of different varieties of this. This is one that's gonna cut a bit deeper. And you could theoretically, after you do this, get a bit more of a finer one if you wanted to, but normally I just do this, and this is gonna get all this kind of haziness out, and it's gonna polish it up really nice. If we want, we could put on like a wax or something after, but I think this should do the trick. Over here, this is my tool of choice. I just got an old Makita sander. Got a little buffing pad on there. This thing, I've used it before, so it's a little stiff from the old compound that was in there, but we'll just put some new stuff on and start working away. And after our final round of polishing, this is the result we got. Now, if you look super close up, you can see some imperfections. I didn't quite have enough paint to get this hood totally coated as much as it should have been if I were doing a super detailed job. But again, this is a 300,000 mile car, so it didn't need to be totally perfect. And honestly, for a rattle can job, this is looking super nice. So there you have it, guys. Once again, here's a quick before and after. Mostly what I wanted to do with this video is show you how easy and possible it is to get really good painting results with just a rattle can, even if you're doing the job outside like I did. I think when it comes to painting cars and doing this type of work, there can be a lot of intimidation and not knowing exactly the right techniques to get good results. A lot of it really comes down to just understanding how paint works. I think my biggest tip for getting the best results is getting the right clear coat. As far as base coat goes, the most important thing is getting a color that actually matches correctly. You can get even really cheap spray paint, even just at your local auto stores. They sometimes have paint that's really cheap. As long as the color matches for your base coat, that's kind of all that matters. To get the best results, however, make sure to focus on your clear coat. I was really impressed with this Eastwood 2K clear coat. I've definitely used some clear coats before that were not so great and over time chipped, but I think you'll be good with pretty much any 2K clear coat just because it has that added sort of epoxy type of result like I talked about before. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. I hope I shared everything in enough detail and showed you all the footage and shared enough tips so you can do this at home by yourself. If there's anything I missed, feel free to drop it down in the comments. Otherwise, my name is Carter from Part Time Overland, and I'll catch you next time back on the trails.